So in this video, we're going to take a look at some techniques we can use to simplify expressions involving surds. So first of all, let's add another bit of equipment to our toolkit. Consider this. If we had 3x plus 2x, well, that would be 5x. It's kind of obvious. You've been doing that since at least grade 6. Now, if I had 3 square root 2 plus 2 square root 2, well, what would that be? Well, just like above, it is going to be 5 square root 2. We can treat the square root 2's like an x, like a number, like a line of algebra. Okay, we can collect them up. So this technique is really important and can be used. So let's take a quick look at some examples that involve that. So let's start with 1. Well, clearly 1 root 2 plus 2 root 2's is 3 root 2. Number 2, 1 root 3 and a 3 root 3, well, that's going to give us 4 root 3. And I can clearly see you're probably getting used to this, and it's quite simple. So what about number 4? Root of 8 plus root of 2. Now, we can't bring these together just yet because they're not the same. We can't collect x's and y's. We can't collect 8's and 2's. But using your work from the previous video, you can probably spot what to do. We are going to reduce the 8, hopefully, to a 2. So we can write square root of 8 as square root of 4, square root of 2. So that expression becomes that one there, look. And then the square root of 4 is 2. So I've got 2 root 2 plus a root 2. Well, that means I can now add them. I've got the same thing there in the square root. 2 lots of root 2 plus a root 2 is 3 root 2. And there's my answer. Let's try one more of these. Let's do number 12. Look, that looks like an interesting question. So square root of 500 minus 3 square root 5. Well, again, I can't collect these up yet, but I need to just think how I can split up that square root of 500. Now, clearly, I need to have square root 5. It's like a clue because I can't collect things up until I have square root 5s. So I can see that this is going to be square root of 100 square root 5. That's my way of splitting up 500 minus 3 square root 5 still. Okay, from there we can see this is going to be 10 root 5 because square root of 100 is 10 minus 3 square root 5. And so 10 lots of something, take away 3 lots of it is going to give us 7 root 5 as our final answer. Okay, so hopefully that makes a bit of sense. Let's move on to some other examples. Now, let's take a look at these. So let's start off with number 1. Now, root 6 times root 3 doesn't simplify nicely because neither of those numbers are square. We can't get rid of the square root. But what we could do is work it backwards because we could definitely write this as the square root of 18 because 6 times 3 is 18. And now we have that, we could think of an alternative way to write that. That does include a square number. So for example, root 18 is going to be root 9 root 2. And from there, we can of course say this is 3 square root 2. So we can look at alternative ways to arrange things to help us to reduce numbers. Let's take a look now at number 2. So square root of 5, square root of 10. Well, straight away, that is going to be the square root of 50. And I need to think of a creative way to split up the root of 50 so I get a square number. Well, 50 is 25 times 2. So square root of 25 times square root of 2, which is going to be, of course, 5 root 2. Now, let's have a look at another example. Okay, this one's pretty tricky. Let's take a look at 12. Now, there are multiple ways to do this. We need to think very carefully, okay? And if you're not good at big multiplications, then it's going to be more tricky. So one method of doing this, well, we could certainly bring those whole numbers together. 4 times 7 is going to be 28. And as well as that, I could split the root 8 into some numbers, and I could write that as root 4 root 2. And I could rewrite that root 12 as root 4 root 3. So this is an equivalent expression. It's not very nice, but it looks like that. But from here, well, I could actually take these pieces, and I know that root 4 multiplied by root 4 is 4. So I've got 28 times 4. And then root 2 root 3 is going to be root 6. So we can bring it down to that. And then I've got to work out what 28 times 4 is. Well, 28 times 2 is 56. So 28 times 4 is going to be 112. So my final answer here is 112 root 6. Now, that is one way to do this question. There are many other ways to do it, though. So just to think about this in some different ways, just for a quick moment, what about if we multiplied the 8 and the 12 together to start with? So we could have approached this by, again, saying 4 times 7 is 28, but 8 times 12 is 96. So this would be true. And then we could go and break up that 96. Now, I don't know if this is more difficult or more easy for you. There's loads of techniques that are going to work. So 96 certainly divides by 4. So it's going to be 24 times 4 there, look. So, and root 4 is 2. So I could, hopefully you'll see I can jump to 56 root 24, and then 56 times root 4 root 6, which is 56 times 2 root 6, which is exactly the same as last time, 112 root 6. So there are multiple ways of doing this. Okay, let's have a quick look at a couple of additional questions just at the end of this video. So let's see if we can put multiple things together to work out the most simple way of writing these expressions. So 6 root 50 minus root 50. Well, I can start certainly by saying it's 5 root 50. From here, we can now split that 50, and we could write that as root of 25 root 2. Well, the square root of 25 is 5, so we've got 5 times 5 times root 2. So my final answer here is 25 root 2. Okay, final one. Okay, now this is a particularly tricky one. Okay, root 33 multiplied by root 22. Now, you do not want to go through the process of multiplying 33 by 22, but luckily they have a common factor. So we could write this as root 3 root 11 multiplied by root 2 root 11. And of course, all these numbers are multiplying together here. And we can take these two together. Well, what is root 11 multiplied by root 11? And of course, it is just 11. So what I've got here is 11 root 3 root 2. Well, that is going to be 11 root 6. That wasn't as difficult as it looked, was it? I hope this helps you to play around with these surds and solve these sorts of problems.